welcome to Games from Folktales, a podcast that mixes historical research and tabletop role-playing settings. I'm your host, Timothy Ferguson. Now, a little poem to continue Halloween week. This is Gloramone by Madison Corwine. The recording is by Larry Wilson and was released into the public domain through LibriVox. Thanks to the whole production team.
Gloramone by Madison Corwine. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. The moonbeams on the hollies glow pale where she left me, and the snow lies bleak in the moonshine on the graves, ribbed with each gust that shakes and waves ancestral cedars by her tomb. She lay so beautiful in death, my Gloramone, whose loveliness death had not dimmed with all its doom, that urged by my divine distress I sought her sepulchre. The gloom, the iciness that takes the breath, the sense of fear were not too strong to keep me from beholding long. I stole into its sorrow, burst with what I know was hand accursed, its seal the gated silence of her old armorial tomb. But love had sighed sweet romance to my heart, and here I thought another part our souls would play. I did not start with indistinctness of pale lips breathed on my hair. Faint finger tips fluttered their starlight on my brow, when on my eyes, I knew not whence, vague kisses fell. Then, like a vow, within my heart an aching sense of vampire winning, and I heard her name slow syllabled, a word of haunting harmony, and then low whispered, "Thou at last, 'tis thou," and sighs of shadowy lips again. How madly strange that this should be! For had she loved me here on earth, it had not then been marvellous that she should now remember me, returning love for love, though worth less, yes, far less, to both of us. And so I wondered, listening there, how was it that her soul was brought so near to mine now, whom in life she hated so. And everywhere about my life I thought, and found no reason why her love should now be mine. We were at strife forever here. Her hatred drove me to despair. I cast my glove into the frowning face of fate and lost her. Yea, it was her hate that made her Apollonio's wife. Her hate, her lovely hate, for of her naught I found unlovely, and I felt she did not understand my passion, and 'twere well to wait. And now I felt her presence near, I, full of life, yet knew no fear there in the sombre silence mark. And it was dark, yes, deadly dark, but when I slowly drew away the pall, death modelled with her face. From her fair form it fell and lay rich in the dust. The shrouded place was glittering, daggered by the spark of one wild ruby at her throat, red arrowed as a star with throbs of pulsing flame. And note on note the night seemed filled with tenuous sobs of fire that flickered from that stone, that lustrous lay against her throat, large as her eyes and shadowy. And standing by the dead alone, I marvelled not that this should be. The essence of 100 stars of fretful crimson through and through its bezels beat, when bending down my hot lips pressed her mouth. And scars, aurora scarlet, veiny blue, flame hearted, blurred the midnight, and the vault rang, and I felt a hand like a fire in mine, and lo, a frown broke up by her face, as gently as the surface of a fountain's glass. A zephyr moves that jolts the grass, spilling its raindrops, when this passed, through song soft slumber binding fast. Slow smiles dreamed outward beautiful, and with each smile I heard the dull deep music of her heart, and saw, as by some necromantic law, faint tremblings of a lubric light flush her white temples and her throat, and each long pulse was as a note, that gathering like a strong surprise with all of happiness, made sweet with dim carnation in wild wise the arch of her pale lips, and beat like moonlight from her head to feet. I bent and kissed her once again, and with that kiss it seemed that pain, which long had ached beneath her smile and eyelids, vanished. In a while I saw she breathed. Then, wondrous white, fair as she was before she died, she rose upon the bier, a sight to marvel at, whose truth belied all fiction. Yet I saw her eyes grow wide unto my kiss, like skies of starless dawn, and all the fire of that dark ruby at her throat around her presence seemed to float, a mist of rose, wherein like light she moved, or music exquisite. What followed then I scarcely know. All I remember is, I caught her hand, and from the tomb I brought her beautiful, and o'er the snow, where moonbeams on the hollies glow, I led her. But her feet no print left of their nakedness, no dent, no faintest trace in frost. I thought, the moonlight fills them with its glow, so soft they fall, or 'tis the snow covers them o'er. The tomb was black, and this strong light blinds. Turning back, my eyes met hers, and as I turned, flashing centupled facet burned that ruby at her throat, and I studied its beauty for a while. How came it there? And when, and why? Who set it at her throat? Again, was it a ruby? Pondering I stood and gazed. A far, strange smile filled all her face, and as with pain I seemed to hear her speak, or sing, these words that meant not anything, yet more than any words may mean. "Thy blood it is," she said, then sighed. "See where thy heart's blood beateth, here thy heart's blood, that my lips did drain in life. I live by still unseen, long as thy passion shall remain. Canst thou behold and have no fear? Yea, if I am not dead, 'tis thou. Look how thy heart's blood flashes now. Blood of my life and soul, beat on, and fill my veins with dawn, and heat the heart of me his bride." And then she leaned against me, eyed like some white serpent, strangely still, that binds one with its glittering stare, that at wild stars hath gazed until its eyes have learned their golden glare. And then I took her by the wrists and drew her to me, faintly felt the shadow of her hair, whose mists were twilight deep, and dimly smelt of shroud and sepulchre. And she smiled on me with such sorcery as well might win a soul from God to hell and torments. And I trod on white enchantments, and was long a song and harp string to a song, love's battle in my blood. And there, kissing her mouth, all unaware the ruby loosened at her throat, and ere I wist hung o'er my hand, and on the brink I seemed to stand of something that cried out, "Admire the beauty of this gem of fire, its witchcraft and its workmanship." Then from her throat it seemed to slip, and in the hollow of my hand a rosy spasm, a bubble boat of living flame, it seemed to float, a fretful fire, a heart fierce fanned of red convulsions. Like a brand, the blaze it touched me, seemed to run like fever through my pulses, swift of torrid poison. One by one, now burning ice, now freezing sun, I felt my veins swell. Then I felt my palm brim up and overflow with blood, that beads of oozing glow dripped drop by drop upon the snow, like holly berries on the snow. Then something darkly seemed to melt within me, and I heard a sigh like a moan. 'Twas as if years of anguish bore it, and the sky swam near me as when seen through tears, and she was gone. In ghostly gloom of dark, scarred pines, a crumbling tomb loomed like a mist. Carved in its stone above the grated portal deep, glimmered this legend: "Let her sleep, crowned with dim death, our lovely one, known here on earth as Gloramone. Our hearts bow down by her and weep, and one sits weeping all alone."
Your saga may vary.